Today is a day with a theme of change and possibility. This service is a reflection of services we've had in the past in the summer when we started a tradition of members of the congregation sharing their beliefs on a common theme. It's been a good way to hear from each other and learn about beliefs that we might not have shared with each other before. Today, in thinking about change and possibility, it is especially timely for us as our minister, Elizabeth Stevens, is preparing to leave on her sabbatical. Through this winter and spring, we will have many speakers that we've never heard from before. Worship services and church activities will look and feel different. We'll have a guest minister, Teresa Soto, whose time here will be a time of change and certainly possibility. When summer comes, services will continue to be conducted by members and guests. If you are interested in participating in a service like this, please see me afterwards, because I'm sure we will have more like this through this time. Through all of this, some things will feel familiar and some things very new. It is indeed a time of change and new experiences. I wonder what possibilities wait for us. Today we will have 3 speakers. Our first speaker is Joe Pallen. He is the chair of our church board. His beliefs about change and possibility have grown from his evolving Buddhist practice. Joe?
Can you all hear me okay? All right. If my voice trails off and you can't hear me, please feel free to let me know. Thank you, Nancy. When Nancy asked if I would be interested in giving a short talk on change and possibility, I felt grateful for the opportunity to share for the first time about my Buddhist practice of 2 years. When I looked at the printed words, change and possibility, I struggled to respond to the word change. But what about possibility, I asked myself. What keeps me from being open to possibility? The word that came immediately to mind is attachment. The attachment to things, whether something from my past or my future, can pull me away from this moment, and this moment, and this moment. Now, while it appeared in those 3 moments nothing had changed, in Buddhist thought, there are changes that took place. Ask anyone if Moscow Mountain has changed since they've lived here, and most likely the answer would be no. But it is moving and changing in this moment, in this moment, and in this moment. Dogen Zenji, a Japanese Buddhist priest and founder of the Soto school of Zen Buddhism, said there are 6,400,099,180 moments in a day, and that this is important to understand. My understanding is Dogen wanted us to know that time moves quickly from moment to moment. Now, I have always felt a contradiction about time, and out of curiosity, when I was a teenager, I bought this book called The Discoverers. It was 750 pages, and I was interested in pages 26 through 76, where the author wrote about sun time to clock time and the missionary clock. When I bought the book, I was looking for answers. What would lead us to break up our day into little segments and create stressful deadlines? Why would we want to pinpoint a time for something to happen? In opposition, I saw nature very differently. Here, time flowed and ebbed on its own accord. Plants and trees grew at their own pace. Mountains seemed to just sit there and waters flowed, not being forced in any direction. I spent most of my life struggling between the timely demands of society and the flow of this natural world. This is not to say things are always peaceful in the natural world. There's a difference between a gentle breeze and a hurricane-force wind, but both do happen on their own accord. Some 40 years later, I was taken by a book by a Zen teacher on Zen and creativity, and for the first time I felt I had found someone or something that shared this view. I began to read about and practice Zen Buddhism. And during my practice, I ran across a significant writing on time, Being Time, by Dogen. And I followed that book with a book by Dainin Katagiri, Rashi, titled Each Moment is the Universe. In Katagiri's books is a series of Dharma talks on Dogen's Being Time. In his writings, I felt I found a common view on time, someone else that sees time in a similar way. Katagiri states that when we understand time in the usual way, in hours, minutes, seconds, we feel separate and independent from others. But when we understand the stream of time in which we live, and I quote Katagiri, we cannot ignore the other aspect of human life, the realm of space or being. This means you do not live independently. Your life is connected to all sentient beings. If you ignore this aspect of human life, you cannot live in peace and harmony. Here, Katagiri describes that real time does not exist in hours and minutes, but as an energy and an action of every moment in our relationship with all beings. I was intrigued with this, and that is when I began to practice and weave real time into the usual time of my daily life. The other day I was shopping, and after getting through the checkout, I had realized I had left my reusable bags in the car. A fleeting moment of fear arose, the fear that people in line at the checker might react angrily if I just left and got my bags. Then my mind immediately jumped to the future. I don't have time to run out there. I blame this on my mind's forever to-do list. But then I stopped, and in that moment, I mentioned to those involved what I had done, let them know I was going to go get my bags, and went out to the car and got my bags, and came back and put my groceries in them. So in the action of that moment, what were the possible outcomes? The possibility that others might change when it comes to using plastic. The possibility of others being compassionate to trees, animals, and other beings by not using reusable bags. And what other possibilities are there that I'm not even thinking about? And what made this moment possible? I stopped. And by stopping, I created a space of emptiness. Emptiness, to the Buddhist way of thinking, is the space of possibility. In Buddhist thought, our relationship with everything around us is connected. That the very lack of anything being fundamentally separate from anything brings about possibility. In that moment, I felt I'd emptied myself of suffering by overcoming past conditioning and to make the most compassionate choice for all beings. In a recent book I read by author Stephen Batchelor, he framed the Four Noble Truths in terms of what I perceived as an action. Batchelor first presented them as the Buddha did, describing his own awakening. 1, fully no suffering. 2, letting go of craving. 3, experiencing cessation of craving. And 4, cultivating the Eightfold Path. Batchelor Batchelor's action of the Four Noble Truths boiled down to this, and this is what he presented in the book. 1, embrace, and I'll add acceptance of what is. 2, let go. 3, stop. And 4, act. And I quote from his book, "This template can be applied to every human situation in life. Rather than shying away from or ignoring what is happening, embrace it with mindful attention. Rather than craving or to seize it or get rid of it, relax one's grip. Rather than getting caught up in a cascade of reactivity, stop and stay calm. Rather than repeat what you have said or rather than repeat and what you have said or done 1,000 times before, act in an empathetic and an imaginative way." Batchelor's suggestion creates the possibility to be present in each moment, empty and without attachments. It creates possibility to act in every moment with wisdom and compassion when fear arises or when something threatens a perceived outcome. Now, I really do not know the outcome of my actions in the store that day, but I do hold in faith that if in each moment I loosen my grip on my own conditioning and open my hands to what is before me and take the most compassionate action, I have created the possibility of change for the good of all beings. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Joe. Our next speaker is Pam Arborgreen. Pam is a longtime member of our congregation and an active member of our quilting group, the Purple Paisley Quilters. She is thinking about the courage it takes to do things you've never thought were possible.
Nancy. All right, I'd like a show of hands. How many of you came in through the front door this morning? Not everybody, but most people did. Did you come in through the door alone? Did you tell yourself this morning, I need to go to church. I need to go to church. I gotta go. Yeah, honestly. And those people are all in the back. That's interesting. We have a lot in common, and that's why we're here. That's why we celebrate and join together each week on Sunday. My friends, to be here, to be one of you out there, you had to survive. You had to survive the turning of the years, broken hearts, major illnesses and surgeries. It's here. We are survivors, and it is good to be here. That is good news. How do I feel about the slings and arrows that come to all of us in life? The possibilities? Oh, I have some different words than Joe did, but I too was given that same task. I'd like to take you back to a very early time in my life. If you would like to also, in your mind, go to your early days. This is a photograph. It is a very rare photograph of my childhood because it's in color. All my other childhood pictures are in black and white. So this is me, and you can tell, looking at me, that, at least I can, that at 2.5 years of age, the weight of the world is settling on me because of that. Just the beginning. There were more after that. I have lived in Washington and in Idaho. Currently, I live in Pullman. When the picture was taken, my family, my parents were first-year teachers in Othello, Washington. How many people have been to Othello? How many have spent 5 years of your life there? Well, my theory is that there's two reasons why we are survivors and why we are the ones that are here. The first one, luck. That's it. It takes a lot of luck to keep going, to get up, to get off the floor, to recover from the blows that we've sustained and the broken hearts that we've felt. The second thing that keeps us being here as survivors, looking forward to change, is hope. That's my word, is hope. Now, some people think you really might need to have something really big to hope for, to be planning for the ultimate vacation. That's my biggest dream, is the ultimate vacation. Well, I would suggest that we look at hope in small steps. And I brought some examples. I was shopping at Michael's and I saw this ribbon. If you saw this ribbon at Michael's, would you be filled with hope? I was. I go, that is so cute. A Halloween party. Who shall I invite? Unitarians, they'll come. That gave me hope to look at possibilities. Does anybody have any water?
Yep, right.
One of my prescriptions means my mouth dries out. Have you seen people sitting here in church with these little things going? This is hope. This is hope. Have you seen me at the farmer's market during the summers with my booth with the glass window collages I make? Every one of those is my hope. It keeps me going. I'm living alone with my little dog. She survived a dog attack this summer. She's still able to be with me because I believe in hope. So no matter how much weight you feel is pressing down on your shoulders, you come in here, you walk in together with this family. We are here through the squeeze of our hands and a hug, a look, a compliment. This is your family and you're always welcome.
Our next speaker is Melissa Francik. She is one of our new lay pastoral team. She's a member of our new lay pastoral team, which was created to strengthen our ability to care for each other, especially during Elizabeth's time of sabbatical. Melissa approaches change and possibility from her perspective as a dietitian and health and wellness coach.
I've heard it spoken that we can choose to look at life as either a problem to be solved or as a mystery to be lived. The latter sounds like a game I'd much rather play. Our brain is an interesting tool. First of all, it can only take in a small portion of the information around us in any given moment, and then it filters these stimuli to create a story that fits within the framework of what we already believe. For all of us, change is a constant companion that sometimes feels like a gently flowing stream, while at others, a raging river with class 5+ rapids. The only choice we have in the matter is how to receive this incessant flow. Do we want to spend our precious energy resisting life's natural movement? Or do we open our hands, our minds, and our hearts enough to let love move through us and let life move through us, carrying us forward toward new possibilities? If we are open to receiving change in this way, we must accept what is happening and our feelings about it. Be willing to suspend our labels of good and bad and just sit in the discomfort of the unknown without a script or a pattern to follow. This growth edge, as it is referred to in the wellness coaching world in which I work, isn't a problem, but rather an opportunity to transcend imaginary boundaries in order to discover the insights and possibilities that lie beyond our stories of ourselves. No one likes to squirm, so it requires motivation and value to remain present in this time of being stretched. A turning point for my journey was when my partner of 12 years asked for a divorce. After the normal human reactions of shock, confusion, grief, anger, and loss, I was given a book by my counselor called Spiritual Divorce. The author invited me to authentically reflect on the gifts I had received from the experience. By laying down the story of being abandoned, I could genuinely start to see how much stronger, more authentic, and courageous I have become because of all of it. It gave me the opportunity to face one of my greatest fears, being alone and unloved, which turned out to be completely untrue. Cultivating genuine gratitude for my divorce has sparked the motivation to receive other seeming challenges with openness and trust that this is actually for me, even if I cannot see why or how at the moment. Albert Einstein once said, "Problems cannot be solved at the same level of consciousness that created them." We have the opportunity to raise our consciousness to reveal new perspectives if we are willing to set down what we think we already know. In my work as a dietitian and health and wellness coach, I support individuals in raising their levels of consciousness, using a lens of curiosity to explore what's actually happening in their lives on a daily basis, how these behaviors do or do not align with their values, and what's possible now to bring them closer toward their best self. We engage in a creative brainstorm that moves them from stuck in the muck to an expansive list of possible ways of moving forward. Whereas criticism is a habit that literally shuts down the higher level thinking parts of the brain and raises fear, curiosity and gratitude open these faculties for insight and new possibilities. Once a mind has been stretched to a new way of seeing, it can never, ever revert back. The brain is capable of making 3 millimeters a day of new neural pathways at any age. Amazing. With intentional practice, curiosity, gratitude, and contribution can become the new superhighway habits. I'd love to share a practice with you that is helpful for creating new possibilities when feeling stuck or unsure of how to move forward. You simply reach into something like a desk drawer, a handbag, or maybe a pulpit like this, and you pull out an object. Then you try to connect that object with the problem at hand in at least 3 to 5 ways. For example, imagine you pulled out a rubber band after you've had an argument with a spouse or child. You could say, for example, that you may need to be, you may need to laugh at yourself. You may need to be flexible, for example. Or you may say that you too can stretch without breaking. Or that the best solution might be to encircle your loved one in a big bear hug, similarly to the way a band wraps around something in support to hold it together. Or, this is the big one, or maybe you could come together and function as a team, like a rubber band ball, and roll forward in life together in a totally new way. Besides, this exercise, besides being really fun, promotes divergent thinking, which supports the habit of creativity to help us see fresh perspectives in any situation. It's amazing the energy and new ideas that emerge from this simple activity. Imagine, instead of viewing a person or situation as annoying or frustrating, we respond with, "How fascinating. This is helping me identify and transcend my growth edge." Instead of resistance, we welcome it. See that it is offering insights and possibilities that are currently not able to be seen any other way. Or we may say, "What can I learn from this? What information does this have for me that I haven't been able to see clearly? Suddenly, there is no blame. And without blame, we are free and empowered to make positive change in our lives and move forward in new, unexpected ways. As the saying goes, there is no such thing as bad weather, only inappropriate clothing. It's amazing how many different ways one can learn to see with practice. Imagine if we could transform our worldview from one of individual survivorship, competition, scarcity, specialness, and blame to one of cooperation and community, where relationship is what truly matters above all else, where our thinking shifts from I and you to we, and where our movements arise from the core belief that we are here to make a contribution without needing to know how or why. As such, we can simply allow life's energy and passion to move through us and trust that there is no higher or lower form of its expression. Thus, we are free to contribute the best of ourselves without hesitation or apology, to move and be moved as an irreplaceable part of life's mysterious, unfurling dance.
Thank you, speakers. Thank you for sharing your own experiences and the wisdom that you've gained from it and helping us think about our own as well. Together, we weave a community response to change that is anchored in our own beliefs and experiences. We'll end with another poem, a prayer if you wish, from the UU minister David Breeden, For Change. For the setting sun from an airplane window, for the rising sun from a train window after riding all night, for the rising sun and setting sun in directions that feel foreign, for the sunlight even when we are lost, for the times the heart has longed to be alone, for the times the heart has ached for another, for leaving in fear, for leaving in hope, for the way home and the way away, for the window and the suns we have seen, for the windows and the suns we will see, for memory and forgetting, for the change that is our lives.